Welcome everybody to another game that I am posting that I played on Red Hot Pawn. Again, as I always say at the beginning of these videos, if you're on Red Hot Pawn, please feel free to shoot me a line, and my Red Hot Pawn name is SH76. This is my third game that I played on Red Hot Pawn overall, or at least the third game that I started. What I'm going to start doing is posting a lot of my games from Red Hot Pawn. The only ones I'm not going to post are the ones that ended on, a terrible blunder, or were completely non-competitive, or ended on a timeout or something like that. But I'll post most of my games if I have the time. In this game, I was playing the black pieces. White started off with E4. I played C5, the Sicilian. I've been taking to playing that most of the time. I should probably enlarge my opening repertoire a little bit, but, hey, why not? I'm beginning to learn this system a little bit. Why mess with it? He plays Bishop C4, one of the standard openings against the Sicilian. I played Knight C6. He plays Knight F3. And then I played D6. Again, I vary the order. There are times that I'll play D6 first, there are times that I'll play Knight C3 first, but I usually tend to play both of them unless circumstances dictate otherwise. Now he played Knight G5. An interesting second move, a little premature for a couple of reasons. First of all, it moves this minor piece twice before the other minor pieces are developed. It puts the knight in a very advanced position, not really in a position to do a whole lot at this point. If the queen was out and there are other pieces in, deep toward my territory, that would be a bit of a stronger move. But at this point, probably not a very strong move. But he made it. Again, not a critical blunder or anything like that, but something that doesn't really enhance his position too much. Obviously, the first thing I have to do is I have to defend against the immediate threat over here. This pawn over here, F7, is hanging. He's got two pieces attacking it. So I played Knight E3 in order to defend that. What that does, of course, it kills two birds with one stone. It defends this piece over here, and it forces him to move the bishop, which means that really, I guess I win a tempo here, because he has to move the bishop in a move that really isn't all that good at developing move, and he doesn't get to he doesn't get to take this pawn, obviously. So he plays D3, defending the bishop. Again, I guess he doesn't want to lose the tempo, whatever it is. So I was perfectly happy with that. I generally love to get the two bishops in the opening in any case. Also, I get to double his c-pawns, so right away there's no reason not to play knight takes c4. He plays d takes c4, and already I have a little bit of an advantage. My opponent's played a couple of, kind of strange moves. Maybe not the best moves that he could have played. So I continued my development, knight f6. Why not? That's generally what I do. He plays h3. Now, h3 is trying to stop my bishop from coming onto g4, or stop my knight from coming onto g4, like his knight over here on g5. Again, he's neglecting development a little bit. He still has his bishop and his knight, which he hasn't developed yet, that he might want to do so. Now I play g6. Whenever I play the Sicilian and I play d6 over here, I almost always end up fianchettoing my dark squared bishop, simply because it makes for a strong kingside defense. And besides, this bishop probably isn't getting out anyway, very quickly. Maybe if there's a bishop over here, then I don't want to move the king pawn, without this bishop being able to jump to d7. So then I won't fianchetto the bishop, but in most cases I'll fianchetto the bishop to g7. Again, a pretty solid position, not exactly the Dragon Sicilian, but close enough. He plays knight c3, finally developing his knight. Then, of course, my natural development move is bishop g7. He plays bishop d2. Developing it again. He could have probably developed it to here or here, but nothing inherently wrong with that move. I castle. He castles. So if you look at the position over here, the position overall is even in terms of material, but I think I do have a slight advantage. I have the two bishops. I have the nice king structure over here, the fianchetto bishop with the knight over here. He's got an advanced knight over here that really isn't doing very much at this point. He's got a bishop that's developed on d2, not really in a very offensive position. Certainly, given the fact that he was white, and white is generally supposed to have a little bit of an advantage, certainly he doesn't have an advantage at all. If anything, I probably have a slight advantage. So I played bishop d7. Again, I have to develop my bishop. It's the only minor piece that isn't developed, and there's really no reason not to develop it to that square. I thought about fianchettoing this bishop also, moving my pawn to b6 and then putting the bishop on b7 and attacking the king along the long diagonal. But I used to do that a lot, and I stopped doing it, and the reason is because I found that it's a very weak defensive piece, that light squared bishop, if it's all the way out on b7. Obviously, he's planning to attack on the king side. He has his knight advanced over here in his outpost. His queen can jump in here. His bishop's in a pretty good position to jump in here. His knight might jump in here a little bit later on. So I want my bishop to be as close to the action as possible. If it has to defend my king, and if the bishop's all the way on b7, although it's on slicing along on a nice diagonal over here, I'd rather it be on d7. Also, I want to be able to maintain the possibility of hitting this pawn. This pawn over here on h3. Again, I see many people play h3 because they want to block off that g4 square, whereas black play h6 because they want to protect the g5 square, which is, as good so far as it goes, and for that reason. But it also puts a little bit of a pawn weakness. Anytime you move a pawn in front of your king, you are accepting a little bit of a pawn weakness. Again, moving the g-pawn to fianchetto the bishop is not really so much of a weakness because the bishop almost acts as a pawn when it's in this formation. So he plays a3. Just looking for a queenside attack over here. Doesn't really see much on the king side. I played queen c8. The reason why I did that is very simple. I'm thinking about, again, I'm always thinking about the possibility. Whenever there's a bishop over here and an h3 or an h6 pawn, I'm thinking of the possibility of sacrificing the bishop to blow open the kingside pawn structure. I've done that a couple of times, and sometimes, you think about it first, obviously, you don't just do it willy-nilly, but it can be a pretty potent idea. So, he plays bishop e3. I'm not exactly sure what that does. Opens the file for his queen, hits this pawn. Maybe if he plays the b pawn to b4, then this bishop is a little bit more centrally located over here. Now, this is where the position that I thought for a long time, I have 3 days to move over here, I probably thought for a couple of days on this one, and I was thinking very seriously of sacrificing the bishop right. And now you can't sacrifice it right away. I can't take it this move because then he just comes back and takes it with the knight. But I was thinking of playing h6, driving the knight back to f3, which is really the only place for it to go, and then attack or take the pawn, the g pawn retakes, take back with the queen, and then I have then I have 2 pawns for a bishop, and I have a kingside attack. So as a matter of fact, I basically had decided to do this. I played h6, he plays his knight back to f3, and then I was just about ready to take on h3. Of course, my idea was to take on h3, he takes on h3, I take. Now, once I'm in this position, obviously it's his move, but my idea is to put the knight over here, put the knight on g4, and threaten checkmate in the corner over here. And then, maybe eventually to get this bishop involved, maybe march the pawns down. I was thinking about this move. As a matter of fact, I actually made the move, and I was about to press submit. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about all his different possible responses. And then, right before I did the move, I saw one response that I thought would ruin the move. I mean, right away, it looks like, to me, on the outside, it looks like a pretty good move. What can he really do to stop this? Well, the answer is, he could have played knight h2. If he plays knight h2, it seems that he's pretty much destroyed my attack, and now I've given up a piece for 2 pawns and very little compensation. Because at this point, what really can I do? Obviously, I can't put the queen here. I can't put the queen here. I can't put the knight over here. Well, whoops, 1 second. I can't put the knight over here because then it's being attacked by this knight and the queen, so I just lose it. So, I guess I could start marching the pawns over here, but after thinking about it for a little while, I figured it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the, giving up the bishop for a very, very speculative attack over here. So instead, I decided to play bishop c6. Bishop c6, again, it tries to attack this pawn. Not that I thought that I had any clear path to victory through that move, But once I wasn't going to take this pawn, once I wasn't going to, sacrifice the bishop, I figured the next best thing is to try to hit at his vulnerable pieces in the middle, and this piece is pretty vulnerable. So then he plays queen d3. He's obviously got to protect it. It's being attacked twice by my bishop and my knight, and so it's only defended once.